kingdom. Is there no end to your power?
On the wall, who is fairest?
You are the fairest, but there is a
For me.
consume her heart.
Find me down.
Who are you? Why is the queen wants you dead?
She is destined to end the darkness.
It's a child. I need her heart blood. The queen it deserves. Lips ready, your heart. An idea.
Hello everyone, today I am going to review Snow White and the Huntsman 2012. This movie is not a happy fairy tale, it is a dark fantasy movie with action, magic, and adventure. The movie looks beautiful because every scene has amazing nature, big castles, and dark forest. The story starts with a kind king and his loyal daughter, Snow White. Snow White is still a little girl. Her mother dies very early, and after that, the whole kingdom becomes sad. One day, the king finds a beautiful woman named Ravenna. She looks very sweet and innocent, but the truth is completely different. Ravenna actually a powerful witch. She uses black magic to cheat everyone. On the same night, Ravenna kills the king and takes control of the kingdom. After that, everything changes. The happy kingdom becomes dark, people becomes poor, and fear spread everywhere. Little Snow White is locked inside a tall tower for many years. She grows up alone, without friends, without family, and without freedom. Every day, she only dreams about leaving the tower one day. On the other side, Ravenna becomes more and more powerful. She believes that beauty is her biggest strength. So, stay young forever. She keeps using dark magic and attacks the youth of other young women. This makes her look beautiful, but inside she becomes more dangerous every day. People in the kingdom slowly lose hope. Everyone thinks no more can stop Ravenna, but they do not know that Snow White is still alive, and very soon our journey is going to begin. Now the story starts becoming more interesting. One day Snow White finally gets a chance to escape from the tower. She runs as fast as she can and reaches a dark forest called the Dark Forest. This forest is not like a normal forest. It is full of strange trees, thick fog, and scary sounds. Every step feels dangerous, even the air looks different, and it feels like the forest is alive. When Snow White enters the forest, she starts seeing a strange vision. She can't understand what is real and what is only a illusion. The trees look like giant monsters, black insect cover the ground, and a strange creature appear from nowhere. She becomes very afraid, but she does not stop running because going back in even more dangerous. At the castles, Ravenna becomes very angry after finding out the Snow White has escaped. She know one very important secret. According a old spell, only Snow White can become more beautiful than her. If Snow White stay alive, one day Ravenna will lose her power and beauty forever. Because of this, Ravenna decided to find Snow White as quickly as possible. She calls the huntsman. He is a brave fighter, but his life is full of sadness. His wife has died, and after that, he has lost all of. He spends most of his time drinking because he no longer cares about his own life. Ravenna makes a false promise to the huntsman. She tells him that if he brings Snow White back alive, she will use her magic to bring his wife back. The huntsman wants to believe her because he miss his wife every single day, even though he is not sure if Ravenna is telling the truth. His love for his wife makes him accept the mission. Soon the huntsman enters the dark forest. He knows every path, every river, and every hidden place inside the forest. That is why Ravenna chooses him instead of spending normal soldiers. After some time, the huntsman finally finds Snow White. She is tired, scared, and completely alone. At first, the huntsman only wants to complete his job, so he catch her without showing any kindness. But while traveling together, he starts listening to her story. He learns how she lost her father, how she spent many years locked inside the tower, and how her people are suffering because of Ravenna cruelty. Slowly he realized that Snow White is not his enemy. She is a innocent girl who only wants to save her kingdom. This changed everything. So the first time in many years, the huntsman feels that his life still has a purpose. Instead of tracking Snow White back to Ravenna, he decided to protect her. Now both of them become partners, and together they began a dangerous journey through the forest, knowing that Ravenna soldiers can attack them at any moment. Now the movie becomes even more exciting because Snow White and the huntsman are traveling together. Every road in front of them is full of danger. They do not know who is a friend and who is an enemy. At first, the huntsman does not talk much. He is a strong fighter, but inside he is still broken because he can't forget his wife. Snow White noticed that he is crying a lot of pain in his heart. She does not ask many questions. Instead, she quietly thanks him for saving her life. This small moment slowly starts building trust between them. As they walk deeper into the forest, they reach a place that looks completely different from the dark area they crossed before. Suddenly, the scary trees disappear and everything becomes peaceful. Bright flowers are everywhere, clean water flow through small rivers, and beautiful birds fly in the sky. After so much darkness, this palace feels like a dream. Then something magical happens. A beautiful white deer appears in front of Snow White. It is very calm and does not run away. The deer slowly walks toward her as if it already knows who she is. Snow White gently touched the animal, and for a few seconds the whole forest becomes silent. The huntsman watches this scene with surprise. He understands that nature itself is accepting Snow White. This shows that she has a pure heart and that she is the true hope of the kingdom. But this peaceful movement does not last long. Very soon, Ravenna soldiers enter the forest. They have only one mission to capture Snow White before she becomes too powerful. The soldiers spared in different directions and search every corner of the forest. The huntsman quickly realizes that they have very little time. He tells Snow White to stay behind him while he fights. A first action scene begins. The huntsman uses his axe with great skill. One by one, he defeats many soldiers. His fighting style is simple but very powerful. Every attack shows that he has years of battle experience. During the fight, Snow White also refuses to hide forever. She understands that running away will never solve the problems. She starts helping the huntsman whenever she gets a chance. Even though she is not a trained warrior, her courage becomes stronger with every step. After escaping once again, they continue their journey and meet a group of small fighters called dwa- dwarfs. At first, the dwarfs do not trust Snow White or the huntsman. They think these two people may be working for Ravenna. The dwarfs surrounded them with their weapons, ask and many questions. The situation becomes very tense. One wrong answer could start another fight. Then one of the older dwarfs carefully looks at Snow White. He noticed the kindness in her eyes and honestly in her words. Slowly, the dwarfs began to believe in her story. They finally decide to help Snow White because they also want to free the kingdom from Ravenna. They explain that many years ago the kingdom was full of happiness, but after Ravenna became queen, everything changed. Forest became empty, villages become poor, and people start living in fear. That night, everyone sat together near a small fire. For the first time in the movie, there is a little happiness. The dwarfs share funny stories, laugh together, and even make Snow White smile. The huntsman also smiles after a very long time. It is a small scene, but it shows that hope is slowly returning. Meanwhile, inside her castle, Ravenna becomes more worried than ever. Her magic mirror tells her that Snow White is still alive and is becoming stronger every day. The mirror also warns her that if Snow White continues this journey, one day she will lose everything her beauty, her power, and her kingdom. Hearing this, Ravenna becomes furious. She decides that standing only soldiers is no longer enough. She starts preparing a much bigger plan, a plan that could destroy Snow White before she reaches the people who still believe she is their true queen. Now the story becomes much bigger. Until now, Snow White was only trying to stay alive, but from this point, she starts thinking about saving her entire kingdom. Early the next morning, Snow White, the huntsman, and the dwarfs continue their journey. The road is long and every step is difficult. Sometimes they travel through thick forest, sometimes they cross rivers, and sometimes they climb high mountains. So no one knows what danger is waiting us. While traveling, the huntsman starts teaching Snow White how to survive. He tells her never to panic during a fight. He explains that a person does not become strong only because of a weapon. A person becomes stronger because of grace, patience, and confidence. Snow White listens carefully. She is no longer the frightened girl who escaped from the tower. Every day she becomes stronger, both in her mind and in her heart. After some time, the group reaches a old village. The palace looks completely empty. Many houses are broken, fields have dried up, and people look weak because they do not have enough food. Children are sitting quietly and no one has a smile on their face. When the villagers see Snow White, they do not recognize her at first. They only see a young woman traveling with a huntsman and a group of dwarfs. Then one old man looks at her carefully. He remembers the little princess from many years ago. Slowly he says, "She is your princess Snow White." Soon everyone gathered around her. Some people can't believe that she is still alive. Some people start crying because they finally feel hope after many years. They tell Snow White how Ravenna has destroyed their lives. Heavy taxes, hunger, fear, and endless suffering have become part of their daily life. Families have lost their homes, many soldiers have died, and nobody has had to courage to stand against the queen. Listening to these stories breaks Snow White's heart. She realized that This fight is no longer only about her own life, it is about every innocent person in the kingdom. At that moment, the huntsman looks at her with respect. Earlier, he saw her as someone who needed protection, but now he sees a future queen who truly cares about her people. The journey continues. Meanwhile, inside the castle, Ravenna becomes more desperate. Her magic is still powerful, but she knows that time is slowly moving against her. She again asks the magic mirror about her future. The mirror gives the same answer. As long as Snow White is alive, Ravenna power will never be completely safe. This answer fills Ravenna with anger. She decides to use not only her strength but also her intelligence. She changes her appearance by using dark magic. Now she looks like an old weak woman. No one can recognize her. She secretly leaves the castle to find Snow White herself. On the other side, Snow White and her friendship stop for a short rest. Everyone feels tired after traveling for many days. The dwarfs start sulking and laughing. The huntsman quietly sharpens his axe because he never trusts peaceful moment. Suddenly, old woman slowly walks toward the group. She looks weak and harmless. She smiles kindly at Snow White. The old woman says she has traveled a long distance and only wants to give a special gift. In her hand, she is carrying a beautiful red apple. The apple looks fresh and perfect. She tells Snow White that this fruit will give her strength after such a long journey. Because Snow White has a kind heart, she does not suspect anything. She thanks the old woman and accepts the apple, but the audience already know the truth. The old woman is actually Rowena in disguise. Her entire plan depends on his poised apple. She watches carefully as Snow White takes a bite. Within seconds, everything changes. Snow White's face becomes pale. She suddenly feels weak. The apple falls from her hand. She struggles to breathe. Then the collapse onto the ground without saying a single word. The smile immediately disappeared from everyone's face. The dwarfs run toward her. The huntsman catches her before she falls completely. He keeps calling her name again and again, but there is no response. It looks as if the life has left her body. At that moment, everyone feels that hope itself has fallen with Snow White. The group stands in completely silence while Ravenna secretly disappears into the darkness, believing that she has finally won the battle. For a few moments, nobody say anything. The huntsman is holding Snow White in his arms. He keeps hoping that she will open her eyes, but nothing happens. Her body is completely still. The dwarfs also can't believe what they are seeing. One of one of them checks her heartbeat, but there is no sign that she will wake up soon. Everyone feels that they have lost the only person who could save the kingdom. The huntsman blames himself. He said that he promised to protect Snow White, but he failed. He remembers every moment of their journey together. He remembers how she never gave up, even when everything looked impossible. Now she feels that all those sacrifices were wasted. The dwarfs decide to take Snow White to a safe palace. They build a beautiful resting palace for her, surrounded by flowers and sunlight. It almost looks like natural itself is protecting her. News about Snow White quickly spread across the kingdom. Many people refuse to believe that their princess is gone. Some villagers come only to see her one last time. Many soldiers who were once loyal to her father quietly bow their hands with respect. Even though she is lying without moving, people still believe She is the true queen. Meanwhile, Ravenna returns to her castle. She believes her biggest enemy is finally gone. She sits proudly on the throne and starts celebrating her victory. She tells her soldiers that no one can challenge her now, but deep inside she still feels afraid. She again asks the magic mirror if she is now safe forever. The mirror gives an answer that makes her uncomfortable. It tells her that darkness can never completely defeat true goodness. Hearing this, Ravenna becomes angry once again, but this time, even she can't understand why she still feels fear. Back at the resting palace, the huntsman sits beside Snow White. He quickly talks to her, even though she can't answer. He says that she changed his life before meeting her. He had lost every reason to live because of her. He started believing in hope again. Tears comes into his eyes. Then he gently kisses Snow White on her forehead. For a few seconds, nothing happens. Everyone is standing silent. Then suddenly, Snow White takes a deep breath. Her finger move slowly. She opens her eyes. Nobody can believe. The dwarfs look at each other with completely surprise. The huntsman also can't believe what he is saying. The curse has finally been broken. White Snow is alive again. She slowly stands up, but now she is not the same girl who escaped from the tower. Her face is calm, her eyes are full of confidence. She finally understands that running away is over. Now it is time to fight. She takes the huntsman and the dwarfs for never leaving her alone. Then he said that the kingdom has suffered for too many years. If they want real freedom, they must face Ravenna in her own castle. Hearing these words, everyone feels new energy. The people who had lost hope began believing again. Former soldier hope the old kingdom start joining Snow White. More and more people gather around her. A small group slowly become a real army. Everyone prepares for one final battle. The huntsman and the dwarfs waste no time. They know that if Snow White wants to save the kingdom, she will need a army. So they began traveling from one village to another, asking the people to stand together against Ravenna. At first, many people are afraid. They have lived under Ravenna rule for so many years that they no longer believe anyone can defeat her. They remember how every person who tried to fight against the queen was either killed or captured. Fear has become a part of their lives. Then Snow White walks in front of everyone. She is no longer wearing simple clothes. She is wearing shining armor, and for the first time, she truly looks like the daughter of the late king. The people look at her with surprise. Many of them have tears in their eyes because they finally see the true princess standing before them. Snow White gives a powerful space. She tells everyone that the kingdom does not belong to Ravenna, it belongs to its people. She said that fear has controlled their lives for too long, but today they have a chance to change their future. She reminds them to their families, their homes, and the happy days before Ravenna become queen. Her words touch everyone's heart. One by one, the people decide to join her. Old soldiers who once served her father pick up their sword again. A young man volunteered to fight. Every ordinary villager promised to help in every possible way. Within a short time, Snow White has a army ready to march toward the castle. Meanwhile, inside the castle, Ravenna received the news that Snow White is alive and is leading a army against her. For the first time, fear appears on Ravenna's face. She orders every soldier to prepare for war. The castle gates are closed. Archers stand on the walls. Weapons are brought to every corner of the castle. Everyone knows that the final battle is about to begin. As Snow White and her army move toward the castle, the huntsman rides beside her. He tells her that today's battle will not be easy. Many brave people may lose their lives, but if they win, the kingdom will finally become free. Snow White looks at the hag castle in the distance. She takes a deep breath. There is no fear on her face anymore, only determination. She raises her sword high into the air. The entire army raise their weapons with her. Then thousands of soldiers began moving together through Ravenna Castle. The ground shakes under their footsteps. The war horns began to sound. The final battle is just about to begin. The army of Snow White reaches the castle of Ravenna. The castle stands on top of a hill surrounded by strong walls and hundreds of soldiers. It looks almost impossible to enter for a few seconds. Both armies stand quietly. No one moves, no one speaks. Everyone knows that once the first track begins, there will be no turning back. Then Snow White lifts her sword toward the sky. She, so, she shoots for the kingdom. Immediately, her entire army runs forward. The soldiers of Ravenna also charge toward them. The final battle begins. Swords crash against each other. Side, shields hit with great force. Arrows fly through the air. The battlefield quickly becomes full of smoke, dust, and loud shout. The huntsman fight at the front of the army. He swings his axes with incredible power. One enemy after another falls before him. Every move show why he is one of the strongest fighters in the kingdom. The dwarfs also join the battle. Even though they are much smaller than the enemy soldiers, they fight without fear. Their teamwork helps them defeat many enemies. Meanwhile, Snow White keeps moving forward. She is no longer hiding behind anyone. She fights beside her soldiers. Whenever some falls, she helps them get back up. Seeing their princess fighting with them gives the army even more courage. Inside the castle, Ravenna watches everything from a high window. She can't believe that the people she once controlled are now fighting against her. Her anger grows stronger every second. She decides that the battle outside no longer matters. She will kill Snow White herself using her dark magic. Ravenna disappears from the room like black smoke. At the same time, Snow White finally enters the castle with a small group of loyal soldiers. The halls are dark and completely silent. The sound of the battle outside slowly becomes weaker. Now every step inside the castle feels dangerous. The huntsman tells Snow White to stay careful because Ravenna can attack from everywhere. Anywhere, suddenly the doors close by themselves. The room becomes cold. Black smoke starts filling the air. Then Ravenna slowly appears in front of Snow White. She smiles confidently. She tells Snow White that this castle will become her grave. But Snow White does not stay back. She looks directly into Ravenna's eyes. She said that today the people will finally become free for a few seconds. Both women stand face to face. No one attacks. No one speaks. The entire movie has become leading through this one moment. Then both of them raise their weapons. The final fight between Snow White and Ravenna is about to begin. For a few seconds, complete silence fills the room. Snow White and Ravenna keep looking at each other. Both know that only one of them will leave the castle alive. Then Ravenna attacks first. She uses her dark magic and sends a wave of black smoke towards Snow White. The room shakes, the walls crack, everything around them starts breaking, but Snow White quickly moves to one side and avoids the attack. She immediately runs toward Ravenna with her sword. Ravenna blocks the attack and throws Snow White backward using her magic. For a moment, it looks like Ravenna is much stronger. Outside the castle, the battle is going on. The huntsman keeps fighting to stop the queen soldiers from entering the castle. He knows that this fight now depends completely on Snow White. Inside the castle, Ravenna keeps using powerful spells. Black smoke surrounds the room. Sharp pieces of stone fly through the air. The fight becomes more dangerous every second, but Snow White remembers everything she has learned during the journey. She does not fight with anger, she fights with grace, hope, and confidence. Every take she makes becomes faster than before. Ravenna slowly starts losing control for the first time. Fear appears in her eyes. She realizes that Snow White is no longer the little girl she loved inside the tower. She is now a true queen. Ravenna screams in anger and gathers all of her remaining magic for one final attack. A hug wave of dark power moves towards Snow White at the last moment. Snow White runs straight through it. She raises her sword with all her strength, and she s- straps Ravenna in the chest. The queen stops moving. The black magic around the room suddenly disappears. Everything becomes quiet. Ravenna looks at Snow White one last time. Her powers slowly leaves her body. Within moments she falls to the ground. The Will Queen is finally defeated. At the same time, outside the castle, the Queen soldiers realize that Ravenna is dead. They immediately stop fighting. Some throw down their weapons, others surrender. The long war finally comes to a end. A few days later, the kingdom begins to change. People clean the streets, families return to their homes, children laugh again, flowers start growing once more. Hope returns to every corner of the kingdom. Finally, Snow White is covered as the new queen. The people happily become her. The huntsman stands proudly among the crowd, knowing that he helped save the kingdom. The movie ends with Snow White sitting on the throne, looking at her people with a smile. After years of darkness, peace, freedom, and hope finally return to the kingdom. The, the battle inside the castle may have ended, but the story is still not over. After Ravenna falls to the ground, every soldier inside the castle loses the courage to fight. The dark magic that had covered the kingdom for many years slowly start disappearing. The black clouds move away. Sunlight returns and the cold air becomes warm again. Outside the castle, the huntsman and the remaining soldiers enter through the main gate. They search very They search every room to make sure there are no enemies left. When the huntsman reaches the throne room, he sees Snow White standing with her sword in her hand. He smiles because the kingdom has finally been saved. The dwarfs also arrive and happily celebrate the victory. They can't believe that the little princess they once protect as defeated the most powerful with the witch in the kingdom. Soon the prison doors are opened and many innocent people who had been locked away by Ravenna are finally free. Families meet each other after many years. Some people cry with happiness, while others thank Snow White for giving them a new life. The news of Ravenna defeat spread across the entire kingdom. In every village, people ring bells, light fires, and celebrate together. The kingdom, which had lived in fear for so many years, finally feels hope again. A few days later, the royal ceremony takes place inside the castle. The hall is beautifully decorated with flowers, flags, and candles. Soldiers stand proudly on both sides while the people gather to welcome the new queen. Snow White walks slowly toward the throne, wearing royal clothes and a beautiful crown. Everyone bows their hands as she passes. She sits on the throne that once belonged to her father, but unlike Ravenna, she does not rule with a fear. She promised to protect every person in the kingdom with justice, kindness, and courage. The huntsman quietly watches everything from the crowd. She does not ask for any reward because seeing peace return to the kingdom is enough for him. The dwarfs smile proudly because they know they helped change history. The movie ends with Snow White looking across her peaceful kingdom, showing that true strength does not come from dark magic or beauty, but from a kind heart, bravery, and the courage to be never give up. After Ravenna dies, the battle inside the castle also comes to an end. The Queen soldier realizes that there is no reason to fight anymore. So many of them put down their weapons and surrender. Outside the castle, the huntsman and the rest of the army enter the palace and make sure every corner is safe. Soon they reach the throne room where Snow White is standing with her sword. The huntsman smiles with pride because he knows that the true queen is finally born. The dark magic that covered the kingdom slowly disappeared, and the sky becomes bright again, and people began to feel hope after many years. The prisoners locked inside the castle are set free. The families meet each other again with tears of happiness. News of Snow White victories spread across the kingdom, and people from every village start celebrating. They know that their long suffering has finally ended, and a new beginning is waiting for them. After Snow White defeats Ravenna, the battle inside the castle finally comes to an end. The Queen's soldiers slowly realize that their ruler is dead, and many of them throw down their weapons. Some of them run away, while others surrender without fighting anymore. Outside the castle, the huntsman and the remaining soldiers enter through the main gate. They carefully check every room to make sure no enemy is hiding inside. When the huntsman reaches the throne room, he sees Snow White standing with her sword. He smiles because the kingdom has finally become free. Slowly the dark magic disappears from the castle, the sky becomes bright again, sunlight returns, and people began to smile. After many years, the prisoners are released, families meet each other again, and everyone thanks Snow White for saving the kingdom. News of the victory spreads across every village. Bells start ringing. People celebrate in the street, and everyone believes that a new future has finally begun. Meanwhile, Snow White quietly looks around the castle, knowing that her biggest battle is over, but her responsibility as the future queen is only just beginning. A few days later, the entire kingdom starts preparing for a very special day. People clean the roads, decorate the castle with flowers, and place the loyal flags on every wall. After so many years of darkness, everyone wants to become a new beginning. Men, women, and children travel from different villages because they all want to see Snow White become their queen. Inside the castle, Snow White quietly gets ready for the ceremony. She looks at her father, old crown, and remember everything that happened during her journey. She remembers the tower where she spent many lonely years, the dark forest, the dwarfs who helped her, and the huntsman who never left her side. She understands that becoming queen is not about wearing a crown, it is about protecting everyone, every person in the kingdom. Soon the loyal ceremony begins. The large hall is filled with soldiers, villagers, and loyal families as Snow White walks toward the throne. Everyone stand up to welcome her. The hall becomes completely silent. Then the crown is slowly placed on her head, and for the first time, she officially becomes the queen of the kingdom. The people clap loudly, and their voices fill the entire castle with happiness. Among the crowd, the huntsman watches everything with a smile. She does not ask for money or any reward. Seeing peace return to the kingdom is enough for him. The dwarfs also stand proudly smiling at each other because they know they helped shape the future of the kingdom. As the movie comes to its final moment, Snow White looks at her people who with confidence and hope, showing that kingdom, grace, and truth are always stronger than fear and dark magic. As Snow White sits on the royal throne, every person inside the castle bows with respect. The people are not only happy because the evil queen is gone, they are also happy because they finally have a ruler who truly cares about them. Snow White thanks everyone who stood beside her during the difficult journey. He said that this victory does not belong to one person, it belongs to every soldier who fought bravely, every villager who never lost hope, every dwarf who risked his life, and especially the huntsman who believed in her when almost everyone else had given up. After the ceremony, Snow White walks through the streets of the kingdom instead of staying inside the castle. She wants to meet her people and understand their problems. Children happily run toward her, old people bless her, and families thank her for giving them a peaceful life again. The broken houses slowly start being reviewed. The empty farms become green again. Markets reborn, and people finally began living without fear. The kingdom, which once looked dark and lifeless, now feels full of hope and happiness. Meanwhile, the huntsman quietly prepares to leave the castle. He never wanted fame or power. His job was to protect Snow White, and now that sees safe, he believes his work is finished. Before leaving, Snow White thanks him for changing her life. She tells him that without his grace and support, he could never have reached this day. The huntsman simply smiles and tells her that she was always stronger than she believed. It is a emotional moment because both of them know how much they have changed during this journey. The final scene show the kingdom become once again. Flowers bloom across the land, rivers flow peacefully, birds return to the forest, and the people celebrate together. The camera slowly moves away from the castle while Snow White stands on the balcony looking at her peaceful kingdom with a smile. The movie ends by showing that true beauty is not found in magic or power but in kindness, bravery, sacrifice, and a heart that always chooses to protect others. That is the real message of Snow White and the Huntsman, and it leaves the audience with a satisfying ending. So, if I talk about final opinion, I think Snow White and the Huntsman 2012 is much more than a normal fairy tale. The movie gives us action, adventure, fantasy, and emotional moment at the same time. The biggest strength of this movie is its beautiful visuals. Almost everything looks like a painting, especially the dark forest, the magical palace, and the hug castle. The cinematography is excellent and makes every location feel real and grand. The background music also matches everything perfectly and makes the emotional moment even stronger. Talking about the performance, Snow White show a good transformation from a scared girl to a brave queen. The Huntsman is one of the best characters in the movie because he is strong, emotional, and always interesting to watch. But the biggest surprise is Ravenna. She looks beautiful, dangerous, and powerful in almost every scene. Whenever she appears on the screen, she keeps the audience interested. Her expression, voice, and screen presence make her a memorable villain. The movie is not perfect because the story become a little slow in the middle, and a few scenes feel longer than needed. Some characters also do not get enough screen time, but the action scene, the fantasy world, and the dark atmosphere, and the final battle make the movie worth watching. If you enjoy fantasy movie with magic, adventure, and strong visuals, then this movie is definitely a good choice. From my side, I would give Snow White and the Huntsman 2012 out point 5 out of 10 because it delivers a beautiful fantasy experience with memorable character and a exciting a story from beginning to end. Huntsman. At first, this movie looks like a simple fairy tale, but after watching it, you understand that it is much darker and more serious than the old story. This movie mixes fantasy, action, adventure, drama, and emotion together. If you are excited only a princess story, then this movie will surprise you because it is full of battle, magic, dangerous forest, and powerful characters. The movie begins by showing a peaceful kingdom ruled by a kind king. His daughter Snow White is loved by everyone because he is innocent, kind, and always smiles. Her mother died when she is very young, and after after that the kingdom slowly loses its happiness. One by one day, the king finds a beautiful woman named Ravenna, but he has no idea that she is hiding a terrible secret. On the very night they get married, Ravenna kills the king, takes the throne, and turns the entire kingdom into a palace full of fear. From that moment, the movie completely changed its tone. Instead of showing a magical fairy tale, it starts showing a dark world where innocent people suffer every single day. One thing I really liked about this movie is its atmosphere. Every location looks different. The castle feels cold and lifeless, the village look empty, even the forest look dangerous. The filmmakers have done a great job creating a world that feels real. While watching the movie, you actually feel that the kingdom has been under Ravenna rule of many years because every person looks tired, scared, and hopeless. Even before the action starts, the visual tell you how much pain the people have gone through. When Snow White grew up inside the tower, you start feeling sympathy for her. She has spent most of her life alone without freedom. She has no friends, no family, and no one to trust. Still, she never become a bad person. That is one of the biggest quality of her character. Even after living in darkness for years, she keeps hope alive inside her heart. This makes the audience connect with her very quickly. You want her to escape because you know she deserves a better life. The introduction of the huntsman is also very interesting. He is not shown as a perfect hero, instead, he is broken, lonely, and carrying the pain of losing his wife. Because of this, he drinks too much and no longer believes that life can become better. This makes his character feel realistic. When Ravenna promised to bring his wife back, he accepts the mission because he has nothing left to lose. At this point, the audience understands that he is not a bad person. He is simply a man who has lost everything. The chemistry between Snow White and Huntsman grows naturally. At first, they do not trust each other. Snow White thinks he is another enemy, while the huntsman only wants to complete his mission. But after spending time together, both characters slowly began to understand each other. Their friendship developed, in a believable way, and that is one reason why the emotional scene worked so well. The movie does not rush their relationship, instead, it gives enough time for both characters to grow together. As the story continues, Snow White and Huntsman travel deeper into the dark forest, and this is where the movie becomes even more interesting. The dark forest is not just a normal forest; it almost feels like a living creature. Every tree looks twisted, the fog covers the ground. Strange sounds come from every direction, and every step makes the audience feel nervous. The visual effects in this scene are very impressive. Even today, many shots from the dark forest still look beautiful and scary at the same time. The movie spends enough time here to make the audience feel the danger inside of crushing of the scene. While traveling together, the huntsman slowly changes as a person. Earlier, he only cared about completing his mission, but after hearing Snow White's story, he starts seeing her as the true princess of the kingdom. He realized that she has suffered much more than anyone else. Even after losing her pageant and spending years inside a tower, she still chose kindness over revenge. That is the biggest reason why the huntsman decided to protect her instead of handing her over Ravenna. This decision completely changed the direction of the story. One of my favorite parts of the movie is the magical forest where Snow White meets the white deer. After spending so much time in dark and dangerous palace, suddenly the audience see a world full of light, flower, beautiful birds, clean water, and peaceful animals. The color palette changes completely, making this scene look fresh and magical. When the white deer walks through Snow White without any fear, it becomes a symbol that nature shall accept her as the true queen. It is a simple scene, but it has a deep meaning because it shows that goodness can still survive even after years of darkness. Soon after its peaceful moment, the movie quickly returns to action. Ravenna soldiers attack from different directions, and Huntsman once again proves why he is such a skilled fighter. His fight scene feel heavy and realistic because he does not fight like a superhero. He struggles, get tired, and takes hits, but he never stops protecting Snow White. This makes every battle more exciting because you never feel that victory is granted. Every fight looks difficult, and that increases the tension throughout the movie. After escaping from the soldiers, the group meets the dwarfs, and the movie adds a little humor without destroying its dark atmosphere. At first, the dwarfs do not trust Snow White or the huntsman because they believe anyone could be working for Ravenna. But after listening to their story, they decide to help them. I like this part because the dwarfs are not shown only for comedy. They are brave, loyal, and experienced fighters who know the forest and mountains better than anyone else. They become an important part of the journey and help Snow White move closer to her final goal. Their friendship also adds warmth to the movie. giving the audience a few feasible moments before the story becomes serious again. Finally, if I have to give my opinion about Alien Romulus, I would say that this movie is one of the best alien films released in recent years. It respects the old Alien movies but never feels like a simple copy. Instead, it makes classic horror with modern filmmaking from the first scene to the last scene. The movie keeps reminding you that space is not a shape palace. There is one coming to save you. Every character has to fight for survival, and that feeling stay alive until the final minute. The biggest reason behind the success of the movie is Ren Carradine. She is not shown as someone who can defeat every problem easily. She gets scared, she makes different difficult choice, and sometimes she even look completely hopeless, but instead of giving up she keeps moving forward. Because of this the audience feels connected to her journey. Every dangerous moment becomes more emotional because you actually care about what happened to her. This is something many horror movies fail to do, but Alien handles it very well. Then comes Andy, who is easily one of the most interesting character in the entire movie. At first, he looks like a simple android, but as the story continues, his personality becomes deeper. Sometimes you are confused about what he will do next. Sometimes he surprises you in a good way, and sometimes he makes you question his decision. That mystery around his character keeps the audience interested from beginning to end. The chemistry between Ren, Carradine, and Andy also gives the movie emotional heart, which makes the horror even more effective. The supporting characters like Tyler K. Bjorn and Navora may not get enough screen time, but each of them helps move the story forward. Every character reacts differently when facing fear. Some becomes brave, some lose hope, and some make mistakes because of panic. These reactions feel natural and make the situation believable. The movie reminds us that in a real life and death situation, nobody always make the perfect decision. One thing that deserves special praise is the atmosphere. Every hallway, every room, every broken machine, and every dark corner creates a feeling that danger is hiding somewhere nearby. Even when the alien is not on the screen, you still feel uncomfortable. That is the power of good direction. The movie understands that real horror is created through waiting and uncertainty, not only through loud sound or sudden jump scare. The cinematography is absolutely fantastic. Every frame looks carefully designed. The use of light and darkness creates beautiful but frightening images. Many scenes look like painting, but they also make you nervous at the same time. The visual effects are sharp, realistic, and never feel overused. The alien looks dangerous every single time it appears, and because the movie doesn't show it constantly, every appearance feels special and powerful. The sound design also deserves appreciation. Instead of filling every scene with music, the movie often chooses silence. You hear breathing, footsteps, metal sounds, alarms, and dis- distant noise. This simple sounds increase the suspense much more than loud background music. When the action finally starts, the music becomes stronger and matches the scene perfectly. This balance makes the horror experience much more immersive. The action scenes are exciting without becoming unrealistic. The movie never forgets that the alien is deadly creature. Every fight feels dangerous because the character know that one small mistake can end everything. This keeps the tension alive throughout the film. Instead of showing heroes who easily defeat every enemy, the movie focuses on survival, and that makes every victory feel meaningful. It if I compare Alien Romulus with many recent horror movies, this film feels much more focused. It does not waste time with unnecessary comedy or long emotional scenes that slow down the story. Almost every scene has a purpose. Either it builds suspense, develops a character, or moves the story forward. Because of this, the pacing remains strong for most of the movie. Of course, the movie has a few weak points. Some viewers may feel that a few supporting characters needed more background. A few story moments could have been explained in more detail. Also, if someone has near watched a alien movie before, they might miss a few references connected to the older films. But even with these small issues, the overall experience remains highly enjoyable. Now let's talk about my final rating for a story. I would give 8.5 out of 10. But the story not and here, if you love science fiction, horror, suspense, dark atmosphere, and survival stories, then this movie should definitely be on your watch list. It is exciting, emotional, scary, and visual beautifully for start to finish. And that's and after watching Alien Romulus, one thing becomes very clear: this movie is not only trying to scare the audience; it is also trying to remind people why the Alien series became famous many years ago. Instead of depending only on fast action, the movie first builds fear step by step. It gives enough time to every location, every dark room, and every silent hallway. Because of this, you never feel relaxed while watching. Even when nothing is happening, your mind keeps saying that something dangerous can appear at any moment. This is the biggest quality of the movie. The writing of Carradine is also very smart. She is not shown as a perfect hero from the beginning. She is a ordinary young woman who only wants a better future. She makes mistakes, becomes afraid, and sometimes lose hope. But every difficult situation teaches her something new. Slowly, she becomes stronger without changing her real personality. This is why her journey feels believable. The audience grow with her character, and every victory feels earned instead of easy. The movie also spends enough time on Andy. At first, many people may think he is only another android, but as the story continues, he becomes much more important than expected. Sometimes he behaves like a machine, while at other times he shows feelings that make the audience emotional. This creates many interesting moments. You keep thinking about what he will do next and whether he can always be trusted. That a small mystery makes his character one of the strongest parts of the entire movie. Another thing I liked is that the movie never forgets its main goal. Its goal is survival, not showing impossible action scene. Every character know that even one alien is enough to destroy everyone. Because of this, every decision becomes important. Nobody enters a room carelessly. Nobody feels completely safe. Even opening a small door becomes a risky decision. This type of storytelling keeps the audience connected from beginning to end. The movie also gives importance to teamwork. Ren Carradine, Andy, Tyler K. Buron and Nora all have different personalities. Some are brave, some are emotional, some lose patience, and some try to think calmly because every person reacts differently. The group feels real. They do not always agree with each other, and these differences create extra tension. Sometimes the biggest danger is not only the alien but also the wrong decision made by frightened person. The horror in this movie is different from many modern horror films. Nowadays, many movies depend only on jump a scare, but Alien Romulus know that real fear comes from waiting. Sometimes the camera simply stay in one place for a few seconds, nothing happens, but your heartbeat becomes faster. Then you hear a small sound somewhere in the background. Suddenly you start looking at every corner of the screen. This slow suspense is much more effective than showing monsters every few minutes. The production design is another amazing part of the film. The old space station looks cold, damaged, and lonely. Every wall has skirts, broken wires, and old machines. Everything looks used and realistic. It feels like people once worked there, but sometimes terrible destroy everything. The movie tells many parts of the story without using dialogue. Just by looking at the environment, you understand that this palace has a dark history. The lighting deserves a special praise instead of making everything bright. The director chooses darkness carefully, small lights, emergency lamps, flashing signals, and long shadows create a feeling that danger is always close. Even when the alien is hidden, the darkness itself becomes scary. This is why many scene remains memorable even after the movie ends. Talking about the alien, the creature still looks frightening after so many years. The design remains simple but terrifying. The movie understands that showing the alien to option mm, would reduce its impact, so it keeps the creature hidden for the right moments. Every time it appears, the audience immediately feels fear. This smart decision makes the alien look stronger and more dangerous than many modern movie monsters. The background music and sound effects also work together perfectly. Sometimes there is complete silence, then you hear only breathing, footsteps, metal sounds, or a distant alarm. These tiny details make every scene feel alive. The movie proves that silence can sometimes be much scarier than loud music. If I compare this movie with other science fiction horror films released in recent years, Alien Romulus easily stands among the better ones. It respects the old Alien movies while introducing new ideas for today's audience. Old fans will enjoy the familiar feeling while new viewers can also understand the story without getting completely confused. In the end, I can simply say that Alien Romulus is not just another horror movie, it is a survival journey filled with suspense, emotion, beautiful visuals, a strong performance, and excellent direction. It reminds us that the biggest fear is not always the monster itself, but the feeling of not knowing be where the next danger will come from, and that is exactly why this movie leaves a strong impression even after the credits end. There is one more reason why Alien Romulus feels different from many recent horror movies. The film does not treat the audience like they need every answer immediately. Instead, it slowly reveals different parts of the mystery. Every new discovery makes the story more interesting. Sometimes you feel that you already understand what is happening, but after a few scenes, the movie gives another surprise. This keeps the audience curious until the final moment. The screenplay is also balanced. It knows when to slow down and when to become fast. During the quiet scene, the movie allows the audience to understand the emotions of Ren, Caroline, and Andy. Then, without warning, the situation changes completely. The calm atmosphere suddenly become full of fear, and the audience realize that nobody is safe anymore. This balance between slow suspense and fast action is one of the biggest strength of the film. Another impressive thing is the movie never forgets the danger of space itself. Space, it show, Space is shown as a cold and empty place where there is no help, no police, no army, and no easy escape. One ran, Caroline, and her friends enter the situation. They are completely alone. This feeling of isolation makes every problem look much bigger. Even a small mistake can become the last mistake of someone's life. The emotional side of the movie is also stronger than many people expect. The friendship between Ren, Carradine, and Andy is not forced. It grows naturally as the story moves forward. There are scenes where they trust each other without speaking many words. These moments make the audience care about both characters. Because of this emotional connection, every dangerous scene becomes more powerful. You are not only watching people running from danger, you actually want them to survive. The movie also show how fear changes human behavior. Trailer K. Buron and Navarro all responds differently under pressure. They some remains calm while others lose confidence. These different reactions make the group feel realistic in real life. Not everyone become a hero during a situation, and the movie understand this very well. The editing keeps the story moving smoothly. There are very few moments where the film feels slow for no reason. Every important scene adds something to the overall journey, whether it is chapter development, character development, suspense, or action. Almost every sequence has a purpose. Because of this, the audience stay interested from beginning to end. One thing I really appreciate was the respect shown to the classic Alien universe. The movie includes several small details that long-time fans will notice and enjoy. However, these moments never become confusing for new viewers, even if someone has never watched a alien movie before. They can still understand the main story and enjoy the experience. That is a different balance to achieve, and the filmmakers have done it very well. The visual quality remains excellent throughout the film. The damaged space station looks realistic, the dark corridors feel frightening, and every location has its own identity. The combination of practical effects and visual effects creates creates a world that feels believable instead of artificial. This is one of the reasons why the horror works so effectively. The alien itself is presented with great patience instead of showing it constantly continuously. The movie builds excitement before every appearance. When the creatures finally comes on a screen, the effect is much stronger. Its movement, design, and presence make it one of the most terrifying movie monsters in recent years. If I had to describe Alien Romulus in one sentence, I would say this. It is a movie that respects its past, improves its present, and gives hope for the future of the Alien series. It delivers horror, suspense, emotional moments, beautiful cinematography, strong performance, and thrilling action in a balanced way. So, if you enjoy movies where every decision matters, where the atmosphere itself creates fear, and where survival feels more important than fighting, then Alien Romulus is definitely a movie you should watch. I keeps your attention from the opening scene until the ending credits and prove that the Alien franchise still has the power of entertaining both old fans and new audience. Before ending this review, I want to talk about one more important thing. Alien Romulus is not a movie that depends only on its famous alien name. Many franchise movies only use the old title to attract the audience, but this film actually tries to tell a strong and interesting story. You can clearly see that the filmmakers respected the original alien world while also creating something fresh. That balance is not easy, and because of that, this movie feels special. The first thing that impressed me was how patient the movie is. Today, many films start with big explosions and non-stop action, but Alien Romulus chooses a different path. It slowly builds the atmosphere, introduce Ren Kaidan, Andy Tyrell, K. Buron, and Naura, and lets the audience understand their situation before the real horror begins. Because of this slow beginning, the Rangers scene later feel much more powerful. One of my favorite parts is the feeling of uncertainty. At many moments, you honestly don't know who will survive and who won't. The movie never makes the audience feel completely comfortable. Every time a character enters a new room, opens a locked door, or walls through a dark hallway, you immediately expect something terrible to happen. That constant suspense keep your full attention on the screen. The direction also understand that horror is not only about monsters. Horror is about the silence, loneliness, and fear of the unknown. The empathy situation feels like a character itself. The broken machines, damaged walls, flashing lights, and quiet corridors create a mood that is scary even before the alien appears. This environmental storytelling is one of the movie's greatest achievement. I also want to appreciate the performance of Fran Carradine. She carries the emotional weight of the story from beginning to end. Her reactions never feel fake, whether she is afraid, confused, or determined. Every looks natural. Instead of making her an impossible action hero, the movie show her as a normal person forced to face a impossible situation that makes her character much more relatable, and is another reason why this movie worked so well. He is not just a supporting character, his journey becomes just as important as Carradine. Sometimes he behaves exactly like a machine, while at other times he shows kindness and loyalty. This creates emotional conflict and makes the audience think about what is really meant to be human. The technical side of the movie is equally impressive. The cinematography makes every frame look beautiful. The lighting creates fear without making the scene difficult or to understand. The visual effects blend naturally with the practical effects. So the alien never looks artificial. Everything feels grounded and believable. The sound design deserves a special credit. Sometimes the movie removes almost all background music, leaving only breathing, footsteps, alarm, and mental sounds. This simple decision increases the suspense much more than loud music ever could. When the action finally begins, the music becomes intense, making every chase and every dangerous moment feel even more exciting. If I compare Alien Romulus with some recent science fiction horror movies, I think this film succeeds because it respects its audience. It doesn't explain everything repeatedly. It trusts the viewers to understand the story by paying attention to small details that makes the experience much more satisfying. In my opinion, Alien Romulus proves that the Alien franchise still has a bright future. It, if the upcoming movies continue with this level of writing, direction, suspense, and character development, then fans will have many great Alien movies to enjoy the coming years. So, if you are looking for a movie that gives you horror, suspense, emotional moment, amazing visuals, strong acting, and a unforgettable survival journey, then Alien Romulus should definitely be on your watch list. It is a film that keeps you nervous, keeps you entertained, and reminds you why the Alien series has remained one of the greatest science fiction horror franchise in the cinema history. One interesting thing about Snow White and the Hunts, Huntsman is that this movie completely changed the image of the old fairy tale. In the classic story, Snow White mostly waits for someone to save her, but in this movie, she slowly becomes a leader. At the beginning, she is scared and alone, but by the end, she is leading an entire army. This character development is one of the biggest reasons Why this movie feels different from the traditional version of Snow White. Another strong point of the movie is Ravenna. She is not just a ordinary villain. She believes that beauty is the source of power, and because of this belief, she keeps using dark magic to stay young forever. This makes her character more interesting because her character enemy is actually time herself. Every time she uses magic, the audience understand how desperate she has become to protect her beauty and power. The relationship between Snow White and the Huntsman is also one of the best parts of the movie. Their bond is built on trust, respect, and survival, not just romance. Throughout the journey, both characters help each other become stronger. The huntsman teaches Snow White how to survive, while Snow White gives him a reason to believe in life again. That is why their connection feels natural and emotional instead of forced. Even after many years, Snow White and the Huntsman is remembered because of its dark fantasy world, beautiful visuals, and powerful action scene. It is a movie that tried to tell a old fairy tale in a fresh and serious way, and for many viewers, that is what makes it different from other fantasy movies. If we talk about the making of the movie, the filmmakers have given great attention to every small detail. The costume of Snow White, Ravenna, and the Huntsman perfect match their personalities. Ravenna always appears in black or golden dress, showing her power and pride, while Snow White starts the movie in simple clothes and later wears loyal armor, showing how she grows for a helpless girl into a fearless queen. The huntsman is shown in rough clothes with heavy weapons, making him look like a real warrior. The background music also play a very important role in the movie. During emotional scene, the music is soft and slow, making the audience feel the pain of the characters. During the action scene, the music becomes fast and powerful, increase the excitement. In the dark forest scene, the music creates mystery and makes every moment feel tense. Because of this, the audience is still connected to the story from beginning to end. Another thing that deserves appreciation is the visual effects. The magical forest, the giant cattle, Ravenna dark powers, and many fantasy creatures look beautiful on screen. Even today, many scenes still look impressive. The movie does not depend only on action, it also spends time creating a fantasy world that feels real and believable. This is one of the biggest reasons why Snow White and the Huntsman 2012 is still remembered by fantasy movie lovers. If we talk about the action, this movie does not have non-stop fights, but whenever a action scene comes, it feels powerful and meaningful. The battles are not only about showing swords and weapons, right? Every fight moves the story forward. The huntsman has a heavy fight style and every track looks realistic. He is not shown as an unbeatable hero. He gets tired, makes mistakes, and still keeps fighting. That makes his character more believable. On the other hand, Snow White starts as someone who can't fight, but step by step she learns to face danger. By the time the final battle arrives, she is confident enough to lead an entire entire army. Watching this transformation is one of the most satisfying parts of the movie. The movie also teaches a simple message: real strength does not come from beauty, magic, or power. It comes from courage, kindness, and never giving up. Ravenna spends her whole life trying to stay beautiful because she believes beauty is everything. But Snow White wins because she earns the love and trust of her people. That difference between the two characters is what makes the ending so meaningful. In the end, the movie leaves the audience with hope and shows that goodness may struggle for a long time, but if people stand together, evil can finally be defeated. Now let's talk about the overall experience of Snow White and Huntsman 2012. This is not a movie that depends only on one hero or one villain. Every main character has an important role in the story. Snow White represents hope, the Huntsman represents courage, and Ravenna represents greed and the desire for endless beauty and power. Because every character has a clear purpose, the story feels balanced from beginning to end. Even the supporting character, especially the dwarfs, help the story move forward instead of being present only for comedy. Their loyalty and bravery make several scenes more emotional and enjoyable. If you enjoy fantasy movies with beautiful locations, dark magic, exciting action, and emotional moments, this then Snow White and Ant-Man 2012 is definitely worth watching. It may not be a perfect movie because the middle part feels a little slow, but its strong visual, powerful performance, and satisfying climax make it a entertaining experience. Overall, this music successfully gives a fresh and darker vision of the famous fairy tale, and that is why it is still remembered by many fantasy movie fans even after so many years. One more thing that I really liked about Snow White and the Huntsman 2012 is that the movie never forgets its dark fantasy style. From first scene to the last scene, every location has its own feeling. The castle looks cold and frightening. The rare forest feels mysterious, and the magical palace look peaceful and beautiful. Because of this, the audience never feels bored while watching the movie. Every new location brings something different to the screen. The camera work, lighting, and costume design make every frame look rich and cinematic. Even if someone does not pay attention to the story, they can still enjoy the movie because of its amazing visuals. In the end, I would say that Snow White and Huntsman 2012 is a good fantasy adventure movie that tries to tell a old story in the way it has memorable characters, strong action, beautiful visual effects, emotional moment, and a satisfying ending. It may not be the best fantasy movie ever made, but it definitely gives a different experience from the classic Snow White story. If you like movies with magic, battles, brave horror, and powerful villains, then this movie deserves a place on your watch list. Thank you for watching. it. Say, viewers, before ending this review, I want also to talk about who should watch Snow White and Huntsman 2012 if you are expecting a light and funny fairy tale. Then this movie may surprise you because its tone is much darker. But if you enjoy fantasy movies like stories about magic, kingdoms, warriors, and powerful villains, then you will probably enjoy this film. The movie gives a good mix of action, adventure, emotion, and beautiful visuals. So it really feels repetitive even though the movie has a few slow moments. The strong performance, exciting battles, and guard work keep the audience interested until the very end. Overall, Snow White is shown as a symbol of hope. The huntsman proved that even a broken person can become a hero again, and Ravenna show how the desire for unlimited power can destroy a person from the inside. These three characters are the heart of the movie, and because of them, the story feels emotional and as well as entertaining. That is why, even after many years, Snow White and the Huntsman 2012 is still remembered as one of the darker and more unique version of the famous Snow White story. Another interesting thing about Snow White and the Huntsman 2012 is how every main character changes during the story. At the beginning, Snow White is afraid of the outside world because she has spent most of her life inside the tower. She does not know who to trust and she has never faced real danger. But after traveling through forest, fighting enemies and meeting different people, she slowly becomes stronger. This transformation does not happen in one scene. The movie show it step by step, which makes her journey feel natural. By the end, she is no longer running away from problems. Instead, she is standing in front of an entire army and leading her people with confidence. The same thing happens with the huntsman. In the beginning, he has completely lost hope after losing his wife. She only accepts Ravenna mission because he has nothing left in his life after. But after meeting Snow White, he slowly starts believing that there are still good people in the world. His character development is one of the strongest parts of the movie because it changes from a man who only wanted to survive into someone who is ready to risk his life to protect others. This emotional journey makes the audience connected with him even more, and every scene between him and Snow White adds more depth to the overall story. If we look closely, Ravenna is also written in an interesting way. She is not evil only because she wants to rule the kingdom. Her biggest fear is becoming old and losing her beauty. That fear controls every decision she makes. She believes that if she loses her beauty, she will also lose her power. Because of this, she keeps using dark magic again and again, even though it slowly destroys everything around her. This makes her a different kind of villain because she is always fighting against time instead of accepting it. Another thing I noticed is that the movie gives a lot of importance to nature. Whenever the winner becomes stronger, the forest become darker, rivers lose their beauty and the kingdom starts dying. But when Snow White begins her journey, nature slowly starts coming back to life. The magical forest, the white deer, the flowers, and the birds all show that hope is returning. The filmmakers use these small details to tell the story without using many dialogue. That is one reason why the visual of the movie feels so powerful, because they are not only beautiful to look at, they also help explain the emotion and the message of the story. Another reason why Snow White and the Huntsman feels different is its word building. The movie does not only focus on Snow White or Ravenna, it also shows how the entire kingdom changes because of one ruler. The empty village, broken houses, frightened people, and silent streets make the audience understand how much damage Ravenna rule has caused. Without showing too many dialogue, the movie explains that the kingdom has been suffering for many years. This makes the audience care even more about the final battle, because they know it is not only about defeating one villain, it is about giving thousands of innocent people a better future. I also like the way the movie balance action and emotions in. After every big fight, the story show down for a while and allow the audience to spend more time with the character. This quiet moment help us understand Snow White, the Huntsman, and the Dwarfs much better. Because of this balance, the action scene feel even more exciting when they finally arrive. Instead of adding fights every few minutes, the movie carefully builds tension, making every battle feel important. This storytelling style may feel slow some some viewers, but it also gives the character enough time to grow, making the journey feel more meaningful. One more thing that deserves appreciation is the production design of Snow White and Huntsman 2012. Every castle, village, forest, mountain, and battle has its own unique look. You never feel that two palaces look the same. The loyal castle of Ravenna feels dark, cold, and lifeless, while the magical forest is full of light and beautiful creatures. These small details make the fantasy world feel much more believable. It feels like the filmmakers spend a lot of time creating every location carefully instead of using simple backgrounds. The movie also does a good job with its pacing during the second half. Even though a few scenes are slower, every important event pushes Snow White closer to becoming the true queen. Her confidence keeps growing. The huntsman becomes more loyal to her, and the people slowly began believing that someone can finally defeat Ravenna because the movie spends time building this relationship. The final battle feels much more emotional. The audience is not only watching a fight between two characters, they are watching the struggle between hope and fear, kindness and cruelty, and that makes the climax much more satisfying. Another thing I went to mention in the sound design of Snow White and the Huntsman 2012, many people only notice the action or the visual effect, But the sound also play a very important role in the dark forest. Every small sound like the wind move through the trees, the footstep on dry leaves, and the strange voice in the distance create a feeling of suspense. During the battle scene, the sound of swords, shields, horrors, and arrows make every fight feel much more realistic. Even in the quiet scene, the background music is very used very carefully to match the emotion of the characters. If we compare the three main characters, each one has a completely different journey. Snow White grows from a frightened princess into a fearless queen. The huntsman begins as a broken man who has lost all hope but slowly become a true protector. Ravenna starts as the most powerful person in the kingdom, but her fear of losing beauty and power slowly destroys her from the inside. This contrast between the three characters keep the story interesting because every character is fighting a different battle. One is fighting for hope, one is fighting for redemption, and more is fighting to hold one to power forever. Another detail that makes the movie memorable is that it does not depend only on magic. The story also focuses on trust, friendship, sacrifice, and leadership. Without the help of the huntsman, the dwarfs, and the people of the kingdom, Snow White could never have reached the capital. In the same way, without Snow White, the people would never have found the courage to fight back. The movie shows that a true leader does not win alone. A true leader inspires others to stand together, and that message makes the story feel much stronger than a simple fantasy adventure. One more reason why Snow White and the Huntsman stand out is the way it presents its fantasy world with a serious tone. Many fairy tale moves are colorful and light-hearted, but this movie chose a darker style from the very beginning. Because of this, every victory feels earned and every loss feels emotional. When Snow White suffers, the audience feels her pain. When the huntsman loses hope, the audience understands his sadness, and when Ravenna appears on the screen, her presence alone creates tension. This balance between emotion, action, and fantasy makes the movie different from many other fairy tale adaptation. The movie also pays attention to a small detail that many viewers may miss during the first watch. For example, the condition of the kingdom changes with the condition of Ravenna magic. When her power grows, the land becomes dry and lifeless. As Snow White becomes stronger and hope returns, nature slowly begins to recover. This visual symbol quality tell the audience that good and evil are connected to the world around them. The filmmakers do not explain this through long dialogue. Instead, they let the audience understand it by voice, the silence in the environment. Another strong point is that the movie never forget the importance of its supporting characters. The dwarves are not only there to make people laugh, they fight bravely, protect Snow White, and help her continue the journey when everything seems impossible. In the same way, the ordinary people of the kingdom also become an important part of the story. Their decision to stand with Snow White during the final battle prove that even the strongest ruler can't survive without the support of the people. This makes the climax feel bigger because it is not just one person victory, it is a victory of an entire kingdom. If we talk about the screenplay, the movie slowly builds its story instead of rushing from one action scene to another. In the beginning, it spends time showing the peaceful kingdom, the childhood of Snow White, and how Ravenna takes control of everything. After that, the movie focused on Snow White escape, a journey through the dark forest, and the people she meets along the way. Because the story gives enough time to every important event, the audience understand why each character makes certain decisions. The slow development may not be liked by everyone, but it helps create a strong emotional connection with the characters. Another thing I really appreciate was the balance between hope and darkness. The movie never stay dark all the time. Whenever the audience starts feeling that everything is lost, a new moment of hope appears. It could be the Huntsman deciding to protect Snow White, the dwarfs joining the journey, the magical forest bring peace after the dangers dark forest, or the people of the kingdom finally choose to fight for their freedom. These moments stop the movie from beginning to despairing and remind the audience that even in the darkest situation, hope can still survive. The relationship between Snow White and the people of the kingdom also becomes stronger as the movie moves forward. At first, many people only remember her as the little princess who disappeared years ago. But after seeing her courage, honesty, and kindness, they slowly began believing that she is the right person to lead them. She does not force anyone to join her army. Instead, she earns their trust throughout her action. This makes her feel like a real leader instead of someone who receives support simply because she is a princess. One more detail that makes Snow White and Huntsman enjoyable is the way it makes fantasy with realistic emotions. Even though the movie has magic, witches, and magical creature, that feeling of the character remains believable. The huntsman struggle with grief, Snow White struggles with fear and responsibility, and Ravenna struggles with her fear of losing beauty and power. Because these emotions are human, the audience can connect with the characters despite the fantasy setting. That combination of magic and real emotion is one of the biggest strengths of the movie and helps it stay memorable even after the credits are over. Another important part of Snow White and the Huntsman 2012 is the way the movie show the difference between fear and hope. Ravenna controls the kingdom by making everyone afraid. She believes that if people fear her, they will never stand against her. Because of this, the soldiers obey her orders. The villagers remain silent and nobody dares to question her. On the other hand, Snow White never tried to control people through fear. She earns their respect by standing with them, listening to their problems, and fighting beside them. This is the biggest difference between the two queens, and the movie keeps reminding the audience of this idea through the story. I also liked how the movie never made the huntsman feel like a perfect hero. He makes mistakes, he loses hope, and sometimes he even doubts himself, but inside of giving up, he keeps moving forward. This makes his journey just as interesting as Snow White's journey. His experience as a warrior helped the group survive many dangerous situations, while Snow White's kindness reminded him that there is still goodness left in the world. Because both characters help each other grow, their partnership becomes one of the strongest parts of the movie. The final message of the film is also simple but powerful. Real leadership is not about wearing a crown or sitting on a throne. It is about protecting people, making difficult decisions, and standing with others during hard times. Snow White becomes queen not because she defeats Ravenna in battle, but because she wins the trust and love of her people. That is why her victory feels meaningful. The movie reminds us that power gained through fear never lasts fear, but power earned through courage, honesty, and kindness can inspire people for a very long time. One thing that makes Snow White and the Huntsman different from many fantasy movies is that it does not try to make every character completely good or completely bad. The Huntsman is introduced as a man who has almost given up on life, but later he becomes one of the biggest reasons behind Snow White's success. Ravenna is someone as powerful and fearless, but deep inside she is always afraid of losing her beauty and her power. Snow White herself is not shown as a perfect warrior from the beginning. She learns from her mistakes, becomes stronger after every challenge, and slowly grows into a confident leader because every character changes during the story. The movie feels more realistic even though it takes place in a fantasy world. Another thing I noticed while watching the movie is how well the filmmakers use silence. Not every emotional moment need long dialogue. Sometimes Snow White simply looks at her kingdom. The huntsman, remember, is why without saying anything for Ravenna stands alone in front of the magic mirror. This quiet scene allow the audience to understand the feeling of the character without unnecessary explanation. This style of storytelling makes many scenes more powerful because the emotions are shown through express music and camera work instead of only words. The movie also reminds us that every great victory comes after many failure and sacrifice. Snow White loses her family at childhood and many people who help her during the journey. The huntsman lives with the pain of losing his wife, and the people of Kingdom suffer for years before they finally become free. Because the character pay such a high price for victory, the ending feels much more satisfying. The audience feel that peace has truly been earned, not simply given. That emotional journey is one of the strongest reasons why Snow White and the Huntsman continue to be remembered by fantasy movies fans. Another point that deserves attention is the casting of the movie. The actor fit their character very well, and because of that, every important scene feels believable. Snow White looks innocent in the beginning and slowly starts looking more confident as the story moves forward. The huntsman has the appearance of a tried warrior who has seen many battles, while Ravenna has a strong skin presence. Whenever she enters the scene, the atmosphere immediately changes and the audience know that something dangerous is about to happen. This is one of the reasons why the movie keeps your attention from the beginning until the end. The action scenes are also designed in a way that matches the story. The movie does not try to add unnecessary fight just to make the audience excited. Every battle has a purpose, whether it is the Huntsman protecting Snow White in the dark forest, the fight against Ravenna soldiers, or the final war outside the castle. Every action scene help move the story forward. The sword fights, horse riding, and battlefield movement all feel natural instead of overdone, which make the movie more enjoyable. I also like that the movie gives importance to a small emotion moment between the characters. These scenes may not have action or magic, but they help build the relationship, the conversation between Snow White and the Huntsman, the loyalty of the dwarfs, and the hope shown by the ordinary people of the kingdom all make the audience care about the story. Without this moment, the final battle would not have felt as power. The movie understands that great action become even better when the audience is emotionally connected to the characters. Another thing I found interesting is how the movie uses the magic mirror throughout the story. The magic mirror is not shown only as a magical object, it also represents the truth that Ravenna does not want to escape except every time she asks the mirror about her beauty or her future. The mirror gives a honest answer instead of the answer she wants to hear. This slowly increases the attention because Ravenna realizes that no amount of dark magic can change her destiny. The mirror becomes an important part of the story because it keeps reminding the audience that real power can't last forever if it is built on fear and cruelty. Another strong point of the movie is its attention to visual storytelling. Many scenes explain the emotion of the character without using long dialogue. For example, when Snow White quietly looks at her father's kingdom, or when the huntsman remembers his wife, the audience understands their feeling without anyone saying a word. The camera slowly focuses on their expression while the background music creates the perfect emotion atmosphere. These moments may look simple, but they help the audience connect deeply with the characters. One more reason why this movie is enjoyable is that it never forgets its main theme. From the beginning until the end, the story keeps showing the battle between hope and fear, kindness and cruelty, and sacrifice and selflessness. So Snow White never becomes stronger because of magic alone. She becomes stronger because people being trusting her. In contrast, Ravenna becomes weaker because everyone around her follow her only out of fear. This difference gives the movie a meaningful message and makes the entire journey feel more satisfying.